have an Aunt Liz and an Uncle Roger who are an audiologist and a speech pathologist, managed to get together. And every year they go down to the Dominican Republic to fit people, many of whom have never even heard in their life, with hearing aids. It's one of their annual joys, and they collect tons of hearing aids all through the year to bring down. On one of these visits, my Uncle Roger was sitting with a man who came in. People said he's been deaf for many years. My Uncle Roger put him through all the tests. And he said to the man's companions, "This man can hear." And they said, "No, he certainly cannot." And my Uncle Roger thought about it for a moment, and he said, "Well, I can't do anything for this man. You need to go and get a priest." And they called a priest, and the man came, and the priest prayed over this man, this deaf man, for God to heal him and to restore him. And suddenly, the man heard. He heard everything. And he went away hearing once again. It is self-evident what this patient from the Dominican Republic understood about my uncle's authority and what he understood about God's authority. He was open to God's authority, and because of that, God could work in him, could come into him and restore him to the fullness of life that God intended for him. Now, probably most of us here relate differently to the authority of Western medicine than this man from the Dominican Republic. But perhaps his other frame of reference, coming from a different society, coming from a different place, perhaps that can help us recognize the subjectivity of our own relations to authority and our own relation to the authority we grant God in our lives to do what God would do in us if we would allow her. So now, this being annual meeting, and we're leaning into some different ways of breaking open the word during annual meetings now. I'm going to open up some breakout rooms, which means you'll be in a group with 5 or 6 other people. And I invite you in those groups to respond to these questions. What has authority in your life? In what areas of your life, your mind, your body, do you trust God's authority and open yourself for God to restore you? What within you do you believe is beyond God's authority? What has authority in your life? Where do you open yourself to God's authority to restore you even beyond your present condition? And where do you imagine your life is beyond God's authority? We'll return in a few minutes. There should be a button somewhere on your screen that says join. Steve, if you're talking to me, I can't hear you. Just so you know, you're muted. I see your mouth moving. But maybe that's just right. If you are watching this after the fact on YouTube, let us close with a prayer. For what has been, thanks be to God. For what will be, thanks be to God. For what is today, thanks be to God. Amen.